What's going on, everyone? Trust the Buzz here. If you're new to the channel, I make Charlotte Hornets content, so if that interests you, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. If you cannot tell by the thumbnail title of this video, in today's video, we're going to be talking about Tidjane Salaun, the number 6 pick in the 2024 draft by the Charlotte Hornets. So my initial reaction to this pick was, I was a little confused. Because if you watched my big board before going into the draft, Tidjane Salaun was on there. He was someone as a trade back candidate. As in a guy I like, I would just prefer as a trade back. So when it was reported by Jake Fisher, who obviously, he's off my list now. He's off my list of trustworthy sources. He messed up like twice last night. When it was reported by him that we were looking to trade back, and then we didn't, and then we picked him, I was a little confused just because I felt as though that was a little early for my liking. I don't really have a problem with the player himself. He has like the physical, basically the physical outlook on him is what we wanted from Cody Williams as far as being that tall. Cody Williams is not 6'9", but I'm just saying 6'9", 207, 210, wherever you see different things. 7'1" wingspan, which is a very similar, if not the same, wingspan as Cody Williams. But he shot better than Stephon Castle while providing Ron Holland-esque type defense. I don't think he's the smotherer that Stephon Castle is on defense, but considering he is someone that has a high motor, plays good defense in my opinion. He gives a lot of effort. That's what you see from Ron Holland when he's locked in, but he's not just quite the fundamental defender the way I believe Stephon Castle is. So he brings a lot of aspects of a lot of different players that I initially wanted. He has some of the pull-up ability and three-point shooting ability that I wanted from Montes Buzella. So he just does a lot of things of a lot of different guys in this draft. Now, some things he does better than some of these guys, some things he does worse. I'm not comparing them one for one, but I'm just saying that he is a good combination of a lot of guys we wanted. I know one thing that people talk about is his shooting. He is a better shooter than he's given credit for. At some places, you'll see that he struggles shooting. You'll see that he only shot 31% from three or 30% from three. But looking at the stats, if you look at I'm using Pro Ballers, and I'll probably put it up on the screen somewhere, but I'm using Pro Ballers, and his stats are not bad. Through 20 games in 2021, 2022 for the Charlotte under 21, he shot 37% from three. It doesn't exactly say how many attempts, but considering the number, it had to be a fair amount of attempts. And then also for the next season with the same team, he shot 34%. Then going into Charlotte, the main team, he only played 3 games in 2022, 2023. He either missed all his shots or didn't take any. And then you go into this past season where he shot 33%. He's a decent three-point shooter, and considering the other guys that were around him outside of the Devin Carter, outside of the Dalton Connects, Reed Shepherds, he was he was better than all the other guys that we were looking at. So I know some people are going to sit here and say that, Charlotte Hornets fans who are looking to be positive are coping, but no, there's a lot here. Knowing the direction of this team, I feel a lot better about the choice. That was one of the biggest things I've been asking for years. If you've been on this channel, you know that this is what I've been asking for. We need a direction. I've been asking us to tank for years now. And tanking doesn't necessarily mean we bottom out for the next 5 years. Yeah, I think it has a negative connotation, which the NBA has kind of provided it to give a negative connotation. But I would say more so look at it as the NFL tanking. NFL tanking, you'll have team that, and we not necessarily this team, but you'll have teams that go to the playoffs 2 years in a row, have one bad year, then boom, they're going. Not only are they in the wild, they make it to the wild card, they make it to the conference championship or whatever. It's a quick jump back. And granted, a lot of different moving parts with the NFL, so it's a little different. But that's kind of the rebuild I would expect. I'm expecting with this franchise. I'm not expecting a quick retooling year. I'm expecting a real rebuild, but I'm not expecting it to look the way that typical NBA tanking rebuilds look. Not to me. I think you're putting your best players out there. You're getting, maybe some veteran players and seeing what they can do, but not signing them to these egregious deals to where, you have to deal with their contract for 4 years. I don't think you're getting any of that. I think we're doing this he's a high upside player, but to me, he's not a guy that's really going to impact winning right now, especially considering what we have. If we had some better pieces around, maybe, but I still have I have huge concerns about our bench, but we needed size. He's another, one thing I said about Montes Buzelis is that we need, size that can handle the ball. That doesn't grow on trees. We have another player here with size that definitely needs to improve his handling, improve his passing, improve that part of his game, but it's there. I really like the upside. I don't think this is going to be a quick turnaround, which is why I like guys like Montes, which is why I like guys like Ron Holland, because of the fact that I didn't think those guys would be able to hop in right away. I think they had some qualities that allowed them to, but I didn't think for major impact. I really don't expect that with Tidjane, but I do think he has one of the highest ceilings in the draft, and that's why I liked him. I just thought about a trade back. Speaking of the trade back, bringing that back up, the biggest thing about that is the reason I feel like the trade is because it's well documented now. The Memphis Grizzlies and the Trailblazers were kind of bidding for the 6th pick. Memphis Grizzlies, I believe, were giving up a lot more than what the Trailblazers were giving up, or maybe just more. We're not going to say a lot more. And the Trailblazers felt as though, even though they're bidding against another team, we're only going up one spot. Why are we trying to outbid this team? And I think the Charlotte Hornets realized that the Spurs were more than likely going to pick Tidjane. And that's a big reason why I believe the Spurs traded their pick. So the Hornets were like, well, we don't want to, even though the Memphis Grizzlies are probably giving the better offer, we don't want to trade back to 9 because then we're not going to get our guy. But, nothing at 7 is really, like, what's the point? So we're just going to go ahead and take our guy. We're not going to give, anybody the chance to take our guy. So I think that's what happened. I think that the Trailblazers weren't really looking to give up enough, and even though they were bidding against another team because they felt like they were going up one spot. And I also feel like the Trailblazers might have backed out once they received wind that maybe the Hornets were looking to get Tidjane, because it was reported early on that Tidjane was going to be the pick for the Charlotte Hornets by Yahoo Sports. So overall, with Tidjane, you get a guy with size, you get a guy with an excellent motor, you get a guy that does a lot of good things on the court. Yeah, honestly, it just needs to be refined. I've seen people comparing to Kai Jones and JT Thor. He's probably better than both those guys combined. Kai Jones, to me, in his college years, he really didn't have a position. The coach used him as small forward, center, power forward. So he really thought he was a guard. He came onto the scene thinking he was a guard, and we saw that play kind of implement that. JT Thor didn't really have much going on outside of his physical profile. He wasn't really putting the ball on the floor. There was a reason he was a second-round pick. This guy, to me, is a lot better. He has a lot better natural talent. You could tell just by his demeanor that he's a guy that's looking to win. He needs to work on his English a little bit, but he's looking to compete. And we didn't really have that with those two guys. I think that his game is fit for more so of what we bring forth in the NBA today. Kai Jones, as much as I liked him coming out as far as a prospect, or not necessarily a prospect, but a project, there were some things he needed to work on physically. As athletic as he was, he still needed to gain a little bit more weight. He needed to show that he can shoot the 3, which he really wasn't showing. And then those things really never developed. With his weight being what it was, he was never going to be the inside center. So you need to develop a shot. He didn't have the basketball IQ. And I think Tidjane struggles with having a basketball IQ at times. It's nowhere near as bad as Kai Jones. He's not going to be, I'm not going to pass the ball and try to run the ball up the court and show everybody what I can. Like, he's not that kind of player. He's a guy that he definitely believes in his skill set, definitely believes in things he can do, but he's not going to be a detriment to the team in doing so. There's often times where you see him and he has guys closing out on it, and you prefer for him to pass it to the open corner. It's just going to happen. That's what young players do. But it's just not to the extent of which we saw from Kai Jones. I know y'all remember seeing Kai Jones specifically in Summer League. It's just not the same. JT Thor was a little more passive. Tidjane has him beat in that aspect because JT Thor at times looks like he's scared to do anything on offense. Tidjane is just a motor. He's a motor. He's going to give it 110% every time he's on the floor. I like his touch. A lot of things he attempts, he can do. It's just a matter of refining it. I really believe that. He has all the natural ability. He's shown flashes in each and every way you want him to show flashes. It's just a matter of we want to see him kind of refine that game. If you are, instead of cutting in the open corner where it's an easy cut for you, and you're going to try to take on a defender and do a step back, well, instead, I need you to make the shot. He shows that he can do it. The shot was just a little off. So He creates a lot of space. I think he's a tremendous player. I really do. And for me, this gives a direction. This shows that we're trying to build for the future. I've been wanting this. Maybe it just didn't come in the way I thought it would, but I've wanted this, and I really like Tidjane. Another French player that, I know European players get the stick, especially now that there's a Jokic and Embiid of the world, so everybody wants another one of them. But I think that he's a guy that really, he doesn't play like your typical European player. He's a lot more aggressive. He has a higher motor. He plays, and I hate to say it like this, but he plays more like an American player as far as finding those guys that have that really high motor, really athletic. He plays more like that, but he has the touch and the finesse of the European players. You can tell how his game was molded. So very, very excited to see Tidjane play. Can't wait to see him play in Summer League. And then I can't wait to see more of what we see today, because I believe later today he will be in Charlotte. So just can't wait to see just press conferences and stuff like that. I would, for the sake of kind of them trying to take clips from him and it not coming out right because of his English, I do hope he has a translator and let him say what he really feels and not try to change it into English. Say it in French and then someone can translate it to English, because I feel like people have been picking on me too about things that he's saying that it just quite doesn't make sense, but it's okay. I really like this pick. He's more of a 4, and I think that's going to provide a lot for us. He has stuff he needs to work on, but having that athletic 4, having that guy that can contest shots the way he does, having a guy that wingspan, play alongside Brandon Miller, play alongside LaMelo Ball, play that fast-paced offense that we're looking to play, and then also be a high motor guy on defense is exactly what we're looking for. At worst, he's going to be this guy that I think will always have a spot in the league because of his defensive ability. And every now and then he might be a guy, like I said, at worst, every now and then he might be a guy to get you 20 points, 30 points in a game that maybe it's a playoff game. But it's not, you can't rely on it. He's just going to be more of a defender that, will also take advantage of mismatches and things like that. So overall, really like the pick. And I hope that we give this guy time. I know I've been picking on him. Just because I was shocked. And honestly, the biggest thing was the trade back. The trade back was the biggest thing about it. I really wanted us to trade back if this was our guy. I really liked his game, just thought 6 was high. But now that I know more about the situation, Spurs were going to take him more than likely. The whole bidding thing between Memphis Grizzlies and the Trailblazers and how that all panned out. If this was your guy, taking him at 6, I like it. And the biggest part about it is, once again, we're seeing that this franchise, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the owners had a say-so in the Brandon Miller pick as well. We see that these guys are going to take who they want to take. I think in years past, the Hornets were really just reactive. They were doing what the media was saying they should do. I don't feel like they were doing their own due diligence. I really like that it was said that he didn't work out, and then boom, he gets drafted. There's him in a workout. They played this very well. They played this very well. And if this was your guy, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I don't want you to draft nobody you don't want to draft. I don't want you to draft anybody because they went to UNC, Duke, Kentucky, whatever. If this was your guy, then get your guy. And I believe they did that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.